it's Katrina. From ancient pyramids to hidden jungle cities, archaeology is undergoing a technological transformation. Forget the pickaxe and the brush. Today, we are talking about lasers, drones, and advanced imaging. In this video, we'll explore entire lost civilizations, hidden rooms in an Egyptian pyramid, and even the tattoos of ancient Peruvians, all brought to you thanks to lasers. The Forgotten Maya City. A forgotten Maya city full of ruined temples and broken pyramids has just been revealed for the first time in 1,000 years. For Juan Carlos Fernandez Diaz, sitting on a tiny plane, flying over the jungle with no bathroom, no in-flight snacks, and no Wi-Fi, it's just another day at the office. He has been embarking on bumpy, sky-high adventures to uncover the truth of the Maya. And finally, he hit the jackpot. Juan found an entire lost Maya city sleeping under Mexico's jungle canopy for the last millennium, since the Vikings first attacked an English monastery and grew a taste for monk blood. How did Juan and his team spot this ancient metropolis? They use LiDAR, light detection and ranging technology. This technology is changing everything. It gives us incredibly precise 3D maps of the Earth. And we're not just talking about searching for jungle cities. LiDAR uses light to create a super detailed picture of everything around you. Imagine you have super-powered eyes that shoot tiny invisible balls of light. These light balls bounce off everything around you like walls, trees, buildings, and then come right back to you. Your super eyes can tell exactly how long it took for the light balls to bounce back, and this tells you how far away everything is. LiDAR is used for robots and self-driving cars and drones. It helps scientists make maps of forests and mountains and helps find things buried underground. Gone are the days of having to brave the jungle with a machete looking for lost cities. You can do it from the sky. In this case, the lasers are attached to a low-flying aerial vehicle, and they scan the forest below while the vehicle flies right above the tree line. Scientists can then analyze the laser scan to bring to life everything hidden underneath the trees. It took Juan and his army of lasers 3 4-hour-long flights over the Yucatan Peninsula to reveal the forgotten city. It was later named Okumun. If your dream is to be like Indiana Jones, fear not. Archaeologists on the ground, led by Ivan Sprat, did have to machete their way through the thick jungle to confirm what the LiDAR had found with their own eyes. Lasers showed that there would be ruins, but the guys on the ground were hardly prepared for what they found. Once they got past the snakes, mosquitoes, and their own exhaustion, Spraj and his brave explorers discovered 50-foot-tall pyramid structures, plazas, overgrown temples, and even a ball game court. The Maya were huge on sports. What really made Okumun stand out were some oddly circular structures. Normally, ruins are square or rectangular. At this point, you may be wondering why such a glorious city was left to be eaten by the jungle. Did the Maya truly abandon their great metropolis? The answer is yes, they definitely did. And it's the one mystery archaeologists just can't seem to solve. Go ahead and take your pick of any possible explanation. Disease, overpopulation, war, climate change, or possibly just an epic case of we need a fresh start somewhere else. Whatever you pick, you're as likely to be right as the experts. They don't know what happened either. Around the 9th or 10th century AD, many Maya cities like Okumun saw a mass exodus, but historians are still piecing together the reasons. LiDAR technology has revolutionized archaeology, making it possible to uncover sites that would take a lifetime to explore on foot. Fernandez Diaz alone has mapped thousands of square miles of jungle and discovered countless Maya structures. He's like the Google Maps of lost civilizations, but these discoveries don't come cheap. They had to raise money from 7 different institutions, including a Slovenian publisher, a transport company, a travel agency, and the Milwaukee Audubon Society. It was worth it, though, to make this discovery. Now scientists just need to fully excavate and understand Okumun, but that will take years. When more information becomes available, I'll be sure to let you know. Angkor Wat was just the beginning. Ever feel like you've completely missed something huge, like, say, an entire hidden empire? Turns out, archaeologists did too. You know Angkor Wat, right? That jaw-dropping temple city in Cambodia that's on every travel influencer's bucket list? As it turns out, Angkor Wat was just one piece of a much bigger puzzle. A recent laser scan has revealed that beneath the Cambodian jungle lies an entire network of lost medieval cities, some possibly bigger than Phnom Penh itself, Cambodia's modern-day capital. And trust me, Phnom Penh is huge. For decades, archaeologists have suspected there was more to the Khmer Empire of Southeast Asia than what they could see on the surface. However, Cambodia's thick, bomb-strewn, landmine-plagued jungle made it impossible to explore. Enter LiDAR technology and research fellow Damien Evans. Damien decided to ditch the old-school hacking-through-vines approach and go full sci-fi instead. He was on a desperate mission to reveal the lost histories of the greatest empire Southeast Asia has ever seen. If you didn't already know, the Khmer Empire was the Roman Empire of Asia, practically unstoppable until internal fighting destroyed them from within. To solve the mystery, Damien attached a LiDAR scanner to a helicopter and flew over 734 square miles of terrain. When the data was input into a computer, entire lost cities popped up on the screen. It wasn't just a few ruins in some tiny forgotten town. A whole empire of cities has been hiding in the Cambodian jungle and no one knew they were there. One of the biggest shockers was the unveiling of the medieval city of Kampong Ve, about 60 miles from Angkor. Damien and his team had spent a decade searching for it on foot and they never found it. They were just hobbling in circles through the jungle, totally lost. Then, one little helicopter trip and some laser beams later, the lost city appeared on their computer screen in an instant, as if by magic. Peter Sherrick, a historian at London University's School of Oriental and African Studies, said these new findings will rewrite history. These scans are proving that the Khmer Empire was the largest known civilization on Earth during the 12th century. Not just one of the biggest, but the absolute largest civilization on the planet. Yet a lot of people don't even know who the Khmer were, nor how advanced their cities were. The Khmer built a next-level water system, cleared massive forests, and redirected rivers to make sure their civilization thrived. It's like they played SimCity Jungle Edition in real life. Damien's discovery also challenges what scientists thought they knew about the fall of the Khmer Empire. Historians originally believed the Khmer migrated south when Thai armies invaded, leading to their slow downfall. But they didn't. Damien found no evidence of large southern cities, meaning the theory is looking a little shaky. There is still no confirmation of why precisely the Khmer Empire collapsed, just like the Romans 1,000 years earlier. One of the biggest takeaways from Damien's laser study is that scientists have been underestimating how much ancient civilization shaped their environment. The Khmer weren't just building cool temples, they were remodeling entire landscapes. The laser scans revealed just how much they altered the natural world to lay down their gargantuan jungle cities. And now for a quick break, but first I want to give a big shout out to Eric M. and Christian Hunt for supporting this channel. Thanks so much for watching and letting me be a part of your day. We wouldn't be here without you guys. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already to join the Origins Explained family, because why not? The Lost Temple of Hercules, a temple of legendary proportions, has been missing for centuries. No one ever thought it would be found. Ever. And then came lasers to the rescue. For many hundreds of years, historians and treasure hunters alike have been trying to track down the Temple of Hercules Gaditanus. It's a semi-mythical site where Julius Caesar once had an existential crisis, and where Hannibal and Scipio Africanus paused to worship the ancient gods. Despite the endless hunts for this temple, no one could pin down its location until now. A team of researchers from the University of Seville used LiDAR scanning and uncovered a massive rectangular structure submerged in the Bay of Cadiz. I'm talking about a nearly 1,000-foot-long building that only shows up at low tide, like some kind of archaeological peekaboo. Archaeologist Francisco Jose Garcia couldn't contain his excitement. He told news outlet El País that as researchers, he and his team are very reluctant to turn archaeology into a spectacle. But in this case, they had to make an exception because they were faced with spectacular findings. In other words, this might just be one of the biggest archaeological discoveries in years. The temple appears to have been constructed by the Phoenicians in the 8th or 9th century BC. If the legends are true, the sanctuary once had massive bronze carvings in it of the 12 labors of Hercules. It had huge columns to hold up its ceiling, and within was an eternal flame that priests kept burning forever, or at least until the temple was lost. Let's go back to Caesar's existential crisis. There is a story that claims Julius Caesar himself was spotted crying in the Temple of Hercules nearly 2,000 years ago. He entered the temple and was faced with a depiction of Alexander the Great, which made Caesar realize he hadn't conquered enough of the world yet. yet. We've all had moments of self-doubt, but this was next level. Caesar wept because he hadn't been a big enough tyrant yet. Everything is more exciting when there are legends involved. But is this mystery ruin revealed through laser scans truly the legendary Temple of Hercules, or just some random ruin? While Francisco Jose Garcia is hopeful, not everyone is convinced. Antonio Monterroso Checa, an archaeologist who conducted a study in 2020, said the researchers made a triangulation error. Antonio said the real site is on the Hill of the Martyrs in San Fernando. Archaeology is hard, even when lasers are involved. If this does turn out to be the real Temple of Hercules, Julius Caesar isn't the only one who's going to get emotional. An ancient shipwreck stuck in a quarry. Sometimes I think history has a sense of humor. When a group of quarry workers showed up on the job a little while ago expecting to dig up gravel, they ended up unearthing something much more exciting. It was better than accidentally digging up gold. Quarry workers in Kent, England found a boat, a shipwreck buried amidst the rubble of their rock quarry. The boat is from the 16th century. I know, it's confusing. Just think of how confused the quarry workers were when they were gawking at the bones of a busted ship that hasn't seen the light of day in around 400 years. How in the world did it end up in a quarry? The workers called in the history nerds at Wessex Archaeology, and they confirmed that they had found one of the rarest surviving ships from the Elizabethan era. This isn't just any old shipwreck. It dates to between 1558 and 1580, a pivotal time in English shipbuilding. This was the era when England was transforming into a naval powerhouse, expanding trade routes and setting the stage for Sir Francis Drake's pirate adventures. The ship was constructed from English oak. Researchers confirmed its origins using tree ring dating, a process known as dendrochronology. Marine archaeologist Andrea Hamel called the discovery an unexpected but very welcome find, which is history speak for holy cow. The late 16th century saw a major shift in shipbuilding. The old method had been to construct clinker-built ships, like Viking longships using overlapping planks. The 1600s saw a new method known as frame-first construction. It was how the Mary Rose was built, Henry VIII's legendary warship. The newly found shipwreck was built using the same frame-first construction and was likely a merchant vessel, probably played a key role in England's booming trade business. This is all great info, but it doesn't explain how the shipwreck was found in a quarry almost 1,000 feet from the sea, buried in waterlogged shingle. Experts believe the area was once part of the coastline, meaning the ship either sank in a harbor or was abandoned after its sailing days were over. The coastline has changed, and the quarry is now on dry land. One second, a boat is rotting at the bottom of the water, and the next it's buried under tons of rock. And guess what? Some of the timbers still smell like tar, which is both gross and amazing at the same time. You may have noticed by now that lasers are missing from this discovery. Don't worry, I'm getting to it. The research team laser scanned every piece of the ship to create a full 3D model. Lasers aren't just for finding lost cities. They can preserve things in perfect 3D so that future historians can study them without getting their hands dirty. The ship's timbers are at risk of shrinking and losing detail, so the vessel will be reburied near its discovery site to keep it preserved until archaeology tech advances even further. In the meantime, scientists can study its 3D model. What can't lasers do? The ancients loved ink. Time to get tatted up. Tattoos are not a modern invention, not by a long shot. Modern tattoo artists have nothing on the tattooers of the ancient Chankai people in Peru. The Chankai were rocking some seriously detailed ink over 1,200 years ago. Thanks to cutting-edge laser scanning technology, researchers have uncovered intricate, previously invisible tattoos on mummified remains. See, lasers can do more than just unveil lost cities. Led by Michael Pittman from University College London, an international team of researchers became the first scientists ever to use laser-stimulated fluorescence to analyze ancient tattoos. This game-changing method works by making the ink glow against the skin, revealing long-lost designs that have faded over the centuries. What they found was nothing short of miraculous. The lasers revealed stunning geometric patterns, animal motifs, and symbolic markings, all delicately etched onto the skin of Chankai mummies. But who were the Chankai? They had their very own civilization about 1,000 years ago. They dominated parts of Peru from 900 to 1533 AD. They produced elaborate textiles and pottery, and they rocked some awesome tattoos. But not all of them. Interestingly, not all Chankai mummies had tattoos, suggesting that body art was reserved for a select few. It's possible that only shamans, ritual leaders, chiefs, and the upper classes were allowed to have tattoos. Ink probably wasn't decorative, but came with complex meanings and symbolism. No matter the why, the Chankai's tattooing skills were next level, possibly surpassing all other forms of their artistic expression. While today's tattoo machines buzz away with sterile precision, Chankai artists kept it old school, using cactus needles or sharpened animal bones. Imagine the steady hands needed to tattoo flawless geometric patterns with a cactus spine. That's dedication. Could the Chankai have invented tattooing? Probably not, since it's been around for at least 5,000 years. As far as historians know, humans have been tattooing each other since the dawn of civilization. Even the Egyptians had tattoos. The issue has been that the tats fade with time, so no one could see what the Egyptians had tattooed on them. But now, with this new laser scanning method, scientists are hoping to bring to light ancient tattoos from lost societies around the globe. Whose tattoos do you want to see first? Revelations of the Last Supper. A real-life Da Vinci Code mystery is unfolding, revealing secrets of the room in which Jesus Christ ate his very last supper. But instead of Tom Hanks running around deciphering clues, it's a bunch of archaeologists armed with high-tech lasers. The Last Supper is not just a famous portrait, nor is it just a story from an old dusty book. Biblical scholars believe that Christ truly did eat his final meal in a room known as the cenacle, located in Jerusalem. Thanks to stunning 3D laser scanning, researchers have unlocked hidden details about the cenacle, revealing centuries-old symbols and architecture that haven't been seen in generations. Archaeologist Amit Rem from the Israel Antiquities Authority led the effort to scan the cenacle, which sits on the upper floor of King David's tomb complex on Mount Zion. Since the site is sacred to Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, traditional digging wasn't an option. Imagine trying to dig a hole in a place sacred to all three major religions. You'd be chased out of town. So, the archaeologists went digital. Using 3D mapping equipment, the team created an incredibly detailed virtual model of the room. This allowed them to see beneath centuries of changes. Here are a few details of the Last Supper room that would have gone completely unknown without the laser scans. Hidden on an archway is the Agnus Dei, also known as the Lamb of God symbol. There's also a lion carving, which symbolizes King David. In some Christian traditions, King David was Christ's ancestor. Talk about a stacked family tree. Christ's family heritage has more celebrities than a Christopher Nolan movie. But most exciting of all is that the lasers revealed evidence the cenacle was built only 800 years ago by the Crusaders. It appears to have been constructed directly on the ruins of an even older church from the 4th century. If this was the room in which Christ consumed his last meal, it's gone through tons of renovations over the centuries. Today, the cenacle is relatively plain, its walls drab and boring, but the lasers revealed that back in the day, it was an artistic masterpiece. According to Ra'em, the Crusader-era architecture was filled with Christian symbols like an overpass covered in graffiti. The Christian symbols were universal and extremely important. Pilgrims couldn't always read Latin inscriptions, but they could recognize what the religious symbolism meant in the pictures. The 3D scanning of the cenacle is part of an ongoing project that started in 2016. Researchers hope the scans can help preserve the site in case of future disasters, much like the 3D scans of Notre Dame Cathedral that are being used for its reconstruction after the 2019 fire. Here's something all you gamers out there can appreciate. The video game Assassin's Creed Unity is being used as a digital reference to help rebuild Notre Dame in Paris, since the game did such a good job of building it in their engine. How awesome is that? While there is no definitive proof that the cenacle is the actual site of the Last Supper, the research is far from over. The team is continuing laser scans of the entire holy complex, hoping to uncover more hidden secrets. And who knows? Maybe one day they will find a definitive link to Jesus himself. A lost city of the Zapotec. Time is a thief, but lasers are its undoing. The Maya may have dominated Mexico's southern regions, but they were hardly the only mysterious civilization of Mesoamerica. Thanks to some lasers, archaeologists have just won an epic game of hide-and-seek with a lost Zapotec metropolis. For years, researchers thought Giangola, a site in southern Mexico, was a fortress where Zapotec warriors flexed their military muscles. But it turns out it was a whole lot more than just one fort. It was an entire city, complete with ball courts, roads, temples, and neighborhoods. Even ancient civilizations needed a good work-life balance. This amazing revelation was made by anthropologist Pedro Ramon Celis from McGill University. He decided to skip the whole hacking through the jungle with a machete approach and went straight for some high-tech wizardry, our old friend LiDAR scanning. In late 2022, Ramon Celis and his team scanned Giangola from the air. As if a fog had been lifted, a 600-year-old metropolis appeared beneath the trees, covering a staggering 890 acres. That is roughly 675 football fields of ancient real estate just chilling under the jungle. For Ramon, this discovery was personal. His mother's family was from a town about 12 miles away from here. Ramon grew up hearing whispers about the ruins. A little did he know that he would grow up to be the guy who uncovered them. If only all our childhood dreams could come true like this. Ramon said that before LiDAR, figuring out the site's full extent would have taken years of hiking, sweating, and suffering from mosquito attacks. With a plane and some lasers, though, it only took 2 hours. If only finding lost socks was that easy. In the 15th century, the Zapotecs were kind of a huge deal, on par with their enemies, the Aztecs. They had already built a civilization stretching across Mexico's Oaxaca region. In 1497, they even faced off against the mighty Aztecs and won. But they didn't win forever. Right before the Spanish arrived in 1521, the city of Giangola was mysteriously abandoned, with its people relocating to Tehuantepec. No one knows why it was deserted. Maybe they saw the doom that was coming with the Spanish and decided not to stick around. Because Giangola is only about 600 years old, a baby in archaeological terms, it's amazingly well preserved. It's like stepping into a time machine, back to a world before the Spanish flipped everything in the Americas upside down. Ramon believes the site could unlock new secrets about Zapotec politics, society, and their interactions with the Spanish. If history keeps hiding entire cities like this, archaeologists are going to need a lot more lasers. A new pyramid discovery. Look out, we got something good. Egypt's pyramids are like that one friend who always has a wild story to tell. Just when you think you've heard it all, they hit you with something new. This time, researchers from Egypt and Germany have stumbled upon hidden rooms inside the Pyramid of Sahura. Even after 4,400 years, the ancient Egyptians still have secrets up their sleeve. Dr. Mohammed Ismail Khaled is an Egyptian-German Egyptologist. He led the mission to uncover secrets inside Sahura's pyramid. Sahura was the second king of Egypt's 5th dynasty, around 2400 BC. While people had already been poking around in his pyramid for centuries, nobody had done it before with lasers. In 1836, British engineer John Perring first discovered a low, suspicious-looking passageway inside the pyramid. He had a hunch that it led to storage rooms, but the tunnel was completely blocked by debris. John Perring couldn't pursue his research any further. It wasn't until now that Khaled's team finally confirmed Perring's theory. The mysterious, blocked-off passage does indeed lead to rooms. 8 storerooms, to be exact. So, what's in these mysterious rooms? No cursed artifacts so far, but they do give archaeologists a better understanding of pyramid architecture. The team used 3D laser scanning technology to create a detailed map of the pyramid's layout. Think of it as Google Maps, but for tombs. The 3D map showed various empty chambers within the structure. However, no one knows what's inside of them. There are concerns that trying to excavate could collapse the whole pyramid. Scientists are working on stabilizing the structure before cracking into the secret chambers to see what's inside. Hopefully not a mummy with a curse. Since Egyptian pyramids seem to have more secret rooms than a Scooby-Doo episode, it's safe to say this won't be the last time you hear about a mind-blowing discovery of this caliber. Who knows, maybe there's another King Tut waiting to be found. The Kingdom of Tonga. Archaeologists led by Dr. Philip Parton have identified what might just be the first major city of the Kingdom of Tonga. Using LiDAR tech, they peered through the thick jungle like Superman's X-ray vision. Researchers mapped out nearly 10,000 earthen mounds that were once part of a sprawling urban civilization. These amazing structures were built around 300 AD, which is 700 years earlier than when historians previously thought the Kingdom of Tonga kicked off its civilization. If you're picturing a European medieval city complete with cobblestone streets, castles, and some guy yelling, "Hear ye, hear ye," think again. This was a different kind of city, built with earth mounds instead of stone buildings. And it wasn't just a one-off experiment. There could be more of these ancient cities scattered across the Pacific, waiting to be discovered. Dr. Parton believes this is only the beginning. As more Pacific islands are scanned with lasers, Parton believes even more lost cities from a lost civilization will appear. Before you get too excited, there are still a lot of unanswered questions. For instance, no one knows what the earthen mounds were used for. Were they homes, temples, ancient dance floors for prehistoric raves? Jury's still out. What experts do know is that mound building was a common practice in early urban development all over the globe, especially in places where people had more soil than stone to work with. You gotta use what you've got, right? Like when you make a gourmet meal out of leftovers, but on a civilization scale. This discovery flips the script on early Pacific civilizations. Until recently, most historians assumed that large-scale cities and tropical island chains weren't a thing. Sure, people lived on islands like Tonga and Rarotonga and Easter Island, but historians figured they were basic, living in palm tree huts. Now researchers have gotten a huge reality check. Structures that would make Mesopotamian engineers jealous are hiding across the Pacific Ocean on who knows how many islands. The Kingdom of Tonga was way ahead of its time and is significantly older than anyone thought. Secrets of a hilltop stronghold. Here we go again. History got it wrong. What we thought was a simple Celtic hill fort was something else. If there's one thing we've learned from archaeology, it's that history has a terrible habit of hiding the coolest stuff under forests, deserts, and sometimes people's backyards. For example, Castro Valente, aka Brave Fort. It's a hilltop stronghold in Spain that was thought to be just another Iron Age settlement, until some archaeologists zapped it with lasers. Researchers went full sci-fi mode and used LiDAR scanning on a whim to map the site. What they found was way bigger and way cooler than they expected. The meager Celtic hill fort is in reality a 25-acre medieval fortress, complete with a defensive wall nearly a mile long and 30 towers to defend against invaders. Which invaders would those be? None other than the Germanic warriors who helped dismantle the Roman Empire. Once the Romans had left Spain, settlements were vulnerable to attacks by the rampaging Visigoths, Ostrogoths, and every other Goth roaming Europe. The Spanish researchers used a lot more than LiDAR scans at the site. They also dug around a bit, doing some conventional archaeology. They found pottery shards and building materials that suggest the stronghold was built right after the fall of the Roman Empire. When Rome fell, the Germanic Suevi people from what is now Germany and the Czech Republic rolled into Galicia like an unstoppable warband, eager to pillage and burn. What were the poor locals to do? They built a fortress and hid in it for the next 200 years. Then, after 2 centuries of resisting the Germanic invaders, the fortress was abandoned. Everyone just sort of packed up and left, and modern historians don't know why. Maybe the invaders stopped being a threat, or maybe medieval landlords raised the rent too high. Now there's a problem we can relate to today. Since the site's true historical value is coming to light, archaeologists are racing to protect it from proposed wind farms and forest roads. What started out as probably just a Celtic fort turned out to be a massive medieval stronghold built for survival in a post-Roman world. And scientists have only just begun to figure out its story. As research continues, the team will post updates on their Facebook page, Castelos no Aire. In the digital age, even 1,500-year-old fortresses need social media. The next time you walk through a forest, just remember there could be an entire lost fortress right beneath your feet.
Thanks for watching! Be sure to stay tuned for extra content you might have missed.
The Chachapoya. There is perhaps no mountain civilization more mysterious than the Chachapoya of Peru. They are also called the Warriors of the Clouds, or the Cloud People, because of their high-altitude homes way up in the Andes Mountains. They lived in the dense and isolated cloud forests at the edge of the Amazonas. And although the Inca Empire did conquer their civilization before the Spanish arrived in the 16th century, the Inca were never really able to consolidate all their land. Incorporating the Chachapoya had been extremely difficult because they lived in such remote places, locations that were almost impossible to get to. They were also brave warriors who resisted the Inca with every step. Unfortunately, what makes the Chachapoya such a huge mystery is that we don't have a lot of archaeological evidence from them. Almost every source of information regarding the Cloud Warriors comes from either the Inca or the conquistadors who sought to destroy them. The Spanish chronicler Pedro Cieza de León wrote that after the Inca Empire annexed the Chachapoya lands, they slowly took on the customs of the Inca around Cusco. Then, by the 18th century, they were utterly obliterated. One of the strangest things about the Chachapoya is that they were said to have unusually pale skin compared to the other groups discovered in Peru when the Spanish arrived. The Spanish described them as the whitest and tallest people in the Americas. They were taller than the Spanish and powerful. Spanish records say the Chachapoya were such beautiful people that the Inca may have wanted to destroy their civilization just to kidnap their wives. To this day, nobody knows why the Cloud people were so pale. Historians are wondering if perhaps they were a distinct civilization, or perhaps descended from a different group of people that arrived in the Americas thousands of years ago. The lost city of Mount Shasta. Mount Shasta in California is allegedly home to a lost city. The city is supposedly hiding somewhere within the mountain and was once populated by magical giants with an advanced knowledge of mechanics and technology. Mount Shasta is one of the most striking geological features in California. It's the second highest peak in the Cascade Range, towering above the state at 14,179 feet. It was once an active volcano that spewed lava all over the surrounding area, but it is currently dormant. At its base are majestic green valleys once inhabited by indigenous Native Americans. It's such an imposing monument that the lonely mountain can be seen from over 140 miles away on a clear day. But what about the civilization of giants? This isn't something that we have archaeological evidence of. Instead, it all boils down to legend. Legend speaks of a secret city inhabited by the forgotten descendants of the Lemurians located on the mountain. The Lemurians were supposedly the first truly technologically advanced people on the planet. They lived on a lost continent that sank in the ocean between Europe and North America thousands or hundreds of thousands of years ago. Some believe the giants of Lemuria fled to California when their homeland sank. They then built a great city on Mount Shasta, or maybe underneath it, and eventually vanished, going extinct with the other giants of the ancient world, like woolly mammoths. The Guj Kingdom. The mysterious Guj Kingdom is one of the greatest mysteries of Tibet. In the 9th century, about 1100 years ago, the mighty Tubo Kingdom fell to pieces and collapsed. The Tubo had ruled over the mountainous region of Tibet for centuries. In their absence, a new people rose to power. They were the Guj Kingdom, and they conceived a marvelous civilization that lasted 700 years. Then, in the year 1630, Guj was overthrown by the Kingdom of Ladakh. According to historical records, the Guj Kingdom had roughly 100,000 people in it. When the king of Ladakh marched on the capital, he allegedly took the Guj royal family back to his own city as captives. But no one is sure what happened to the 100,000 people who had been living under the Guj king. The capital was suddenly abandoned, their great oasis was turned to a desert, and the people somehow vanished. There are no records of them migrating anywhere else. They were not welcomed into any other cities, and no mass graves have ever been found. The 100,000 people just sort of walked out into the mountainous plateaus of Tibet and mysteriously disappeared. And now for number 7. But first, I want to give a big shout out to Shubham Namdeo and Billy Owens. Thanks so much for watching and supporting Origins Explained. If you are new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button and join the family. The Khmer Fire Mountain. Yanartas is a mountain sanctuary dedicated to the Greek god Hephaestus. It's an incredible place because fires have been burning here consecutively for about 2,500 years. These are natural fires spewing out of the ground, fueled by gas far below in the Olympus Valley. The mountain sanctuary can be found near the top of Mount Khmer in Turkey's Antalya province. It was originally identified in 1811 by Sir Francis Beaufort, and he named the site after the mythical fire-breathing monster called the Chimera. In Greek legend, the Chimera was a terrifying beast formed from various parts of other animals. The hero Bellerophon defeated the monster by shoving a spear attached to a lump of lead into the monster's mouth. In ancient times, people would have been in awe of the natural fires burning along the mountain. To them, these fires would have seemed like truly miraculous things, like the fire spewing out of a great god's forge in the mountain. And so, it's no surprise that they built a great temple here, dedicated to the god of blacksmiths, sometimes called Hephaestus, sometimes Hephaestos, and called Vulcan by the Romans. In all likelihood, there was a cult of worshippers stationed here on the mountain living largely in isolation. But then, by the 6th century AD, Christianity had shown up with a force. The temple was largely obliterated and replaced with a church and a chapel. Urartu Castle. On an expedition in eastern Turkey, a team of archaeologists discovered a castle that hadn't been seen by human eyes in centuries. The castle was lost, completely hidden at an altitude of 8,200 feet above sea level. The team was digging at the top of the mountain when they came across stone structures. Shocked beyond their wildest dreams, the archaeologists started their search. They soon uncovered ancient walls, a cistern for holding water, ceramic fragments, and so much more. They had soon revealed the outline of a massive castle built 2,800 years ago by the enigmatic kingdom of Urartu, or the Kingdom of Van. The kingdom's reign was not a long one. They ruled eastern Anatolia from between roughly 860 BC until 590 BC. Their end was just as mysterious as their beginning. They constructed magnificent mountain fortresses, thrived for centuries, and then vanished in the blink of an eye. Historians believe their success was thanks to the temporary decline of the Assyrian Empire in the 8th century BC. But then, once the Assyrians recovered and were back in power, the Urartu were obliterated. This castle high up in the mountains was lost, decayed into a ruin, and was buried by dirt until now. The Antarctica Civilization. A mysterious structure has been found on Google Earth in Antarctica that could hint at an ancient lost civilization. The image from Google Earth shows a structure in the shape of a large oval, roughly 400 feet across. Some say it's nothing but a natural phenomenon, while others are convinced it's the imprint of a large settlement that once stood in the mountainous lands of Antarctica. This would have been thousands of years before the continent was covered in ice. Scientists initially called the structure a sestroki, which is a natural phenomenon formed by many years of freezing wind and heavy snow. All the blowing snow creates a shape that looks as if it were made by human hands. But according to Ashoka Tripathi from the University of Calcutta, the image does not show a natural phenomenon. Ashoka says the image is obviously showing an artificially made structure. It kind of resembles a pyramid, and is far from any kind of natural geological formation seen in nature. Another interesting thing is that the photographs were taken in a place that was once covered by roughly 1 mile of ice. The structure, or the remains of it, must have been buried a very long time ago. The big twist is that when conspiracy theorists say there was a civilization thousands of years ago in Antarctica, that directly contradicts science. Antarctica has been frozen solid for 34 million years. If there was a culture, a city, or civilization here, it certainly wasn't a human one. Natunia. Drones may have just discovered the ancient lost city of Natunia. Natunia is on par with other lost civilizations like Atlantis or El Dorado. The city is known only because its name has turned up on a handful of very old coins. All indications point to Natunia having been a real place, mostly because ancient people didn't mint fictitious names on their money. But for all the searching, scientists have never found a hint of where the mysterious lost city may have been located. At least, not until now. It was only very recently that scientists made a discovery at the mountain fortress of Rabbana Merkuli that could change everything. Parts of this ancient city were first uncovered in 2009 in Iraq's Zagros Mountains. But because of the tense political situation, the rugged terrain of the remote wilderness, and a lack of funding, researchers were never able to fully investigate. But now, Michael Brown from the Institute of Prehistory at Heidelberg University has mapped the mountains using a drone. There appears to be a massive fortification crumbling away on the wall of the mountain. Towers, perimeter walls, and busted foundations litter the cliffs. Michael compared the ruins to the fortress of Helm's Deep from the Lord of the Rings movie. While not totally confirmed, this does appear to be the lost city of Natunia. The evidence is simple. Pictures on the rare coins with the city's name on it are identical to a pair of relief statues uncovered at the entrance of the mountain fortress. It looks like the coins came from this city, which was once a monumental castle town straight out of a fantasy novel. The Tairona. The Tairona civilization lived in Colombia long before the Spanish ever came to pillage their lands. Recently, researchers came across a previously unknown lost city in Tairona territory. They found it high up in the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta, an isolated mountain range stretching along the Caribbean coastline. The settlement sits on the edge of a steep ridge 5,000 feet above the ground, partially hidden by tangles of vines and jungle foliage. Researchers believe this city was constructed around the year 800 AD. Albert Lin, an explorer with National Geographic, has been conducting research in this part of Colombia for 20 years. He uncovered the ancient city using LiDAR imaging technology to get a glimpse through the vegetation. Little is known about the city at this point, especially since it's in such a difficult location to study. But it does appear to be one of the many mountain cities along the Caribbean. Sadly, we don't know much about the Tairona except what the Spanish wrote in their chronicles. We know some of their highest cities may have been 18,000 feet above sea level, and that they covered themselves in intricate gold ornaments. But unfortunately, we don't know much more than that. Before Pompeii. There's a village that sits preserved in volcanic ash near Mount Vesuvius in Italy. That's the volcano that decimated Pompeii in the year 79 AD and preserved the city in solid stone. But this other village isn't Pompeii. It was a Bronze Age settlement destroyed 2,000 years before Pompeii was destroyed. In other words, it was the Pompeii before Pompeii. The village is called Afragola, and it was covered in a thick layer of ash and silt when Mount Vesuvius erupted 4,000 years ago. Anthropologist Tiziana Matarazzo from the University of Connecticut says it was covered in so much ash that nobody knew the site was there for 4,000 years. While archaeologists have been crooning over Pompeii for the past few decades, there's been another city even older that was buried by an even earlier volcanic eruption. This has been a truly amazing discovery, and something that archaeologists will be going crazy over for the next few years. The village was only recently identified thanks to a construction project. A team of archaeologists, including Matarazzo, were called in to study the site. They've identified houses where villagers lived with their families, a storage structure used for holding agricultural goods, and possibly the remains of a warehouse. What we're looking at here is a pre-Roman society not 10 miles from the Roman city of Pompeii, frozen in time. Turquoise Mountain. The Minaret of Jam is the last monument standing in the mysterious lost ruins of a fabled city on the Turquoise Mountain. The tower, built in the 12th century, is the only structure still standing that proves the Ghurid Empire ever existed. This was the last great indigenous empire of Afghanistan, with their last stronghold hidden high above the valley where the Hari River and River Jam meet. Over 800 years ago, this was a multicultural city far ahead of its time. Historical records show that Jews, Christians, and Muslims lived within the city in peaceful harmony. These people were united by the commonalities they shared rather than divided by their differences. Unfortunately, it was the ruthless Mongol leader Genghis Khan's son, Ogedei Khan, who descended on the city in the 1220s with his army. He destroyed this city and slaughtered its people. All these centuries later, the only thing that remains of the Khan's brutality is the Minaret of Jam. It's a lonely monument, a sad tower inscribed with geometric patterns, verses from the Quran, and bands of beautiful calligraphy. It's the last vestige of a mysterious city whose inhabitants chose love and peace over hate and anger. Thanks for watching! Which of these ancient mountain cultures did you find the most fascinating? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. See you soon. Bye!